Another AEW star could be gone from the company. Also, a very famous tag team in Impact Wrestling is leaving the company. Will they sign with WWE? Will they sign with AEW? And then, of course, we got to talk about some very tremendous news for Brodie Lee. If you guys want more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. And don't forget, we do have timestamps in the description down below. We're going to talk about Brodie Lee just really quickly. I feel like this is something super cool. So Jeremy Padware, I believe is how his name is pronounced, from Jazwares, the company, has released or is releasing an AEW Brodie Lee Jazwares SDCC exclusive figure. So this is actually really cool. It's just one of the reasons why I really want to talk about this specifically too, and I just think it's so important to mention. You know, Brodie Lee was not with AEW for a very long time, but because of AEW continuing to honor Brodie Lee, and they've done just such a fantastic job with the way they've done it. It doesn't wreak disparity. To me, it just feels natural and authentic and real. And I think this is one of the big reasons why AEW has become such a good spot for wrestlers to sign. Yes, we can talk about booking. We can talk about a million other shortcomings that AEW has had, maybe certain areas where they need to improve. But when it comes to Tony Khan, and you know, I know on the internet it's become a thing to make fun of him, call him a mark, and all of these different things. The one thing that cannot be said bad about Tony Khan is that he is truly serious about honoring the legacy of his people and his company. And with Brodie Lee having this exclusive figure, honestly, it's just not only a great thing for Brodie Lee's family and for the memory of Brodie Lee, but I think it's just really cool that like fans can still remember Brodie Lee. And I thought, you know, it was very evident when Brodie Lee passed away. WWE and AEW both had beautiful tributes. I think both companies did a beautiful job. But since then, you know, for a guy who was barely in the company to still be remembered and still have things like this, you know, it's a great thing. And you know, I think Brodie Lee is definitely missed, and it's just cool to see that his memory is being kept alive. Guys, I want to talk to you about the Good Brothers, because it appears that the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, will no longer be under contract to Impact Wrestling after tonight's taping in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, for those who don't know, they were signed to a multi-year deal with WWE, and then they were released as part of the COVID releases budget cuts in 2020. And then after that, they went to Impact Wrestling. And of course, we've seen them a little bit on Impact, and we saw them, you know, we saw them on AEW television at times. I don't know what the future holds for Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. We know that they are still expected to appear for New Japan Pro Wrestling. We know that there could be a future with Impact Wrestling as well. But at the same time, we now know that they are open in free agency to sign with any company of their choosing. And I imagine that AEW will probably swoop them up. It appears to me, especially after Keith Lee and Swerve winning the tag titles, it appears to me at the very least that AEW is trying to get back into the swing of things with their tag team division. And obviously the Good Brothers are a great tag team, and they will be a welcome addition to the show. And I also think because AEW does have the Forbidden Door and they have this great relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson will be able to work for both companies. So ultimately, I think it's more given that they would probably be signing with AEW versus WWE. Of course, you can never put WWE out of the conversation. WWE does pay the big bucks. And while WWE doesn't take tag team wrestling as serious as AEW, I do imagine that maybe WWE could potentially be interested as well. Now, the real question comes down to whether or not these guys would actually go back. And obviously, I just, as I mentioned, I think it's more realistic that they would go to AEW, work with New Japan, work in the indies. I think that would be a little bit more of a viable option for them. But you can never rule out WWE in this scenario, and also don't rule out Impact Wrestling. It's not like they had a bad stint in Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling has been pretty damn good to them, so there's always a possibility that they can continue working with Impact, but maybe not under a full-time contract or anything like that. And keep in mind, Impact Wrestling does allow their wrestlers to work in New Japan. It's something that they've done for many people on the roster, so this is not a surprise, but of course the opportunity for them to leave could be now, which is definitely interesting. And guys, our final story of the day, we are talking about another AEW star leaving the company. We are talking about Fuego del Sol. This is very interesting. Obviously, a lot of people are speculating right now. Fuego del Sol had removed his avatar on Twitter account, and all of his AEW references have been removed. He also deleted all of his tweets, and his bio directs promoters to email bookfuegods@gmail.com. So if you're a booker and you're watching this video and you like Fuego del Sol, guys, you should definitely reach out in that email. Now, it's a really interesting situation with AEW because we talk about new talent coming into the company. Lately, we've been talking about talent leaving the company. It's no secret that in order to make way for new talent coming in, you have to let go of certain talent. AEW has done this in a way unlike WWE, where they release people due to budget cuts, but instead AEW just has people finish off their contract and then they let them go. One thing I also want to point out that could be a very good point to this, just like many other people on the roster, there is always a good possibility that AEW does not contract Fuego del Sol as a full-time wrestler. There's always the possibility that Fuego del Sol gets brought in on a per appearance deal. That is something that we had talked about in previous videos on this channel, that some people were leaving, and they were leaving AEW, but then they're welcomed back on a per appearance capacity. Now, the thing is, Fuego del Sol is not going to be a contract that is as expensive as Bryan Danielson or CM Punk. AEW doesn't really have jobbers, and Fuego del Sol was kind of like the jobber that you would put on there. And I'm just saying, it's not a bad idea to keep him. If it's an inexpensive contract, you guarantee this guy work, and this guy gets to make a living, and he does it, and he loves it, I think AEW should keep him. And I think AEW, I have said this before, wrestling is like Hollywood. Wrestling is like television and movies. Every actor has a role. You have to be really good at that role. You're going to be the star role. Maybe you're not. But Fuego del Sol is not going to be the world champion of AEW, in my opinion. But Fuego del Sol can still be on TV, put over other talent. Obviously, we all seen the vlogs and stuff like that. He can still be an asset to the company without necessarily having to cost $1 million to sign him. And I think AEW needs people like that, which is why I'm kind of in the thing of like, I'm in the mindset of, hey, you should just keep him and kind of leave it at that. But I'll let you guys decide what you think. Do you think Fuego del Sol is gone? Hopefully not, but at this point, it appears that he is. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Don't forget, all the links are in the description. Discord, Twitter, social media, and all this different stuff, guys. I'll be back bringing you more videos daily, pro wrestling news, rumors, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time right here on youtube.com/AngoYT.